Antoni Maria Claret y Clarà was born in Sallent, in the county of Baix in the province of Barcelona, on December 23, 1807, the fifth of the 11 children of Juan and Josefa Claret. His father was a woolen manufacturer. As a child he enjoyed pilgrimages to the nearby shrine of Our Lady of Fussamania. Claret received an elementary education in his native village, and at the age of 12 became a weaver. At the age of 18, he went to Barcelona to specialize in his trade as a jacquard loom programmer, and remained there until he was 20 years old. Meanwhile, he devoted his spare time to study and became proficient in Latin, French and engraving. Frightened that his love of programming was causing him to become obsessed and burned out, and recognizing a call to religious life, he left Barcelona. He wished to become a Carthusian monk but finally entered the diocesan seminary at Vic in 1829, and was ordained on June 13, 1835, on the feast of St. Antony of Padua. He received a benefice in his native parish, where he continued to study theology until 1839, but as missionary work strongly appealed to him, he proceeded to Rome. There he entered the Jesuit novitiate but had to leave due to ill health. He then returned to Spain and exercised his pastoral ministry in Viladrau and Girona, attracting notice through his efforts on behalf of the poor. In an area despoiled by the Carlist civil war, he added the practice of rustic medicine to his other endeavors. Recalled by his superiors to Vic, Claret was sent as apostolic missionary throughout Catalonia, which had suffered from French invasions. He traveled from one mission to the next on foot. An eloquent preacher fluent in the Catalan language, he drew people from miles around. After a lengthy time in the pulpit, he would spend long hours in the confessional. He was said to have had the gift of discernment of consciences. In 1848 Claret's life was threatened by anti-clerical enemies and he was sent to the Canary Islands where he gave retreats for 15 months. His missions were so well attended that he often preached from an improvised pulpit in the plaza before the church. He founded the congregation of Missionary Sons of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, commonly called the Claretians. On his return to Spain, he established the congregation of the Missionary Sons of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, the Claretians, on July 16, 1849, the feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and founded the great religious library at Barcelona which was called Libreria Religiosa, now Libreria Claret. Pope Pius IX gave approval to the congregation on December 22, 1865. Pope Pius IX, at the request of the Spanish crown, Queen Regnant Isabella II of Spain, appointed him Archbishop of Santiago de Cuba, in 1849. He was consecrated at Vic in October 1850. Before he embarked, he made 3 separate pilgrimages, to Our Lady of the Pillar, patroness of Spain, to the Virgin of Montserrat, patroness of Catalonia, and to Our Lady of Fussamania, near his home village. The Santiago Seminary was reorganized, clerical discipline strengthened, and over 9,000 marriages validated within the first 2 years of his arrival. He erected a hospital and numerous schools. 3 times he made a visitation of the entire diocese, giving local missions incessantly. Among his great initiatives were trade or vocational schools for disadvantaged children and credit unions for the use of the poor. He wrote books about rural spirituality and agricultural methods, which he himself tested first. On August 25, 1855, he founded the Religious of Mary Immaculate together with Maria Antonia Parris. The congregation was considered as the first women religious institute in Cuba. He also visited jails and hospitals, defended the oppressed and denounced racism. His work stirred up opposition, and at Holguin his cheek was stabbed by a would-be assassin, who was associated with Freemasonry. Claret obtained a commutation of the assailant's death sentence to a term in prison. Claret was an exceptional preacher with incredible charisms. Witnesses said his body would become transfigured while preaching or in prayer. He would levitate up to 6 feet off the ground at times in front of credible witnesses. He stopped a series of earthquakes in Cuba by kneeling on the ground and placing his palms to the earth while uttering prayers. He could calm terrible storms by raising a hand to the sky and blessing the storm clouds. He experienced apparitions of both Jesus and Mary, and was even seen walking on water. In addition, a supernatural light that radiated from his body while he was saying Mass was seen by many. It was so intense at times that one witness said he saw the light radiate from his body behind the altar all the way to the sacristy. Queen Isabella of Spain even produced a written statement solemnly declaring that she had personally witnessed this phenomenon. On September 3, 1859, Claret claimed he had heard Jesus tell him that there were three great evils that were descending upon mankind. The first was a series of enormous, horrifying wars, the second, the four powerful demons of pleasure, love of money, false reasoning, and a will separated from God. Finally, in addition to a grievance he had with certain Christians who had left the church, Jesus told Claret that the third chastisement would be brought about by communism, an unknown, fledgling movement that only had hundreds of followers at the time. In 1869 he went to Rome to prepare for the First Vatican Council. Owing to failing health he withdrew to Prada de Conflent in the French Pyrenees, where he was still harassed by his Spanish enemies. Shortly afterwards he retired to the Cistercian Abbey at Fontfroid, Narbonne, southern France, where he died on October 24, 1870, aged 62. His remains were buried in the Catalan city of Vic, in the county of Osona. His zealous life and the wonders he wrought, both before and after his death, testified to his sanctity. Information was sought in 1887 and he was declared venerable by Pope Leo XIII in 1899. His relics were transferred to the mission house at Vic in 1897, at which time his heart was found incorrupt. His grave is visited by many pilgrims. Antoni Maria Claret was beatified in Rome by Pope Pius XI on February 24, 1934. He was canonized 16 years later by Pope Pius XII on May 7, 1950. Pope John XXIII included him in the general Roman calendar in 1960, and fixed his feast on October 23, where it remained for 9 years until the 1969 revision of the calendar moved it to the day of his death, October 24, which had been the feast of Saint Raphael the Archangel since 1921. Antoni Maria Claret is the patron saint of weavers.